end up they're taking getting thousands of software engineers who are way underpaid. Like you will
Mm,
do the same job in US, and I'm taking into consideration the economy, the cost of living in everything, and still
mm,
the engineers in India are way underpaid, way
exactly.
under. Like to get an entry level job, it's very difficult.
Mm,
Either you will be like, there will be jobs that they will pay you like shit, like because literally I got a job opportunity from some company in Mumbai, and it was for iOS developer, and they were gonna pay 1,75,000 rupees per year. I made so many, like I made good friends with people I would never imagine. Like two, three of my friends are Pakistani, really good friends are Pakistani. Okay.
mm. Hey everyone, my name is Ronak, back with another episode. This is 11th episode in the Let's Talk series. Today the guest of honor is Mr. Omkar Sawant. He has completed his graduation from the Penn State University with the major as Information Science and Technology. Apart from that, he has been currently admitted into the prestigious Waterloo University in Canada in the area of Master of Management Sciences. So he today is going to share some valuable experience that he had in the Pennsylvania in the US and what he is looking forward to do and how one can pursue such form of course work. So he has actually dropped out of the engineering from the Mumbai University and decided to go to the Penn State in order to pursue his career. So this podcast is not only available on the YouTube but also on the Spotify and Anchor in the audio formats. Links to those will be down in the description box of this YouTube video. Apart from that, if you like my content, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or you can follow my podcast on Spotify. Now let us get started with the podcast. Hope you will enjoy it. So hey Omkar, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, everything is fine.
Good. So
So
thanks for having me on the show,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I
It's a
really
pleasure.
appreciate the work you do because like you are doing that something I always wanted to do. Like eventually I'm trying to get into podcast as well. Or podcast, like
Oh,
I want to be a creator in general. So I do
mm-hmm.
really do appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, so I have a set of questions for you.
Right.
So these are related to the work you do at the moment. So let us start with
hmm
our first question. That is, what are you doing
Right.
recently?
So right now I'm like working on my visa application for Canada, right? But
Mhm.
before that, I graduated from Penn State. That's Pennsylvania State University. I graduated in May 2020 with a bachelor's in information science and technology.
Mhm.
That was my major, and I did a minor in business. So
Mhm.
that was basically my degree. And I tried to find some jobs in US. I had like good opportunities, but because of COVID, like things got like messed up. And
Mhm.
the second main reason was the visa situation. So eventually, I had to leave the country and come back to India. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty
Mm.
much it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So the degree that you currently are pursuing is related to the computer science itself.
Yeah, it's not deep computer science, but I did have to go through like some computer science courses since like the first semester, first year and the second year. I did my first
Mhm.
and second year in India, and I was a
Mhm.
transfer student to Penn State, right?
Oh.
So that's how it started. Yep. Mhm.
Mhm.
So do you want
And
me to go ahead with it? Sorry, my bad. You can.
no, but how did you got the opportunity?
Oh, okay. So it's a very long story. Okay. So I did it all begins in like my 11th, 12th. So in 11th, 12th, I did science and I took computer science mainly.
Mhm.
I think it's called bifocal
Mhm.
for 11th, 12th. Yes. So I did bifocal in computer science. I was always interested in technology, right?
Mhm.
And I also loved coding at some point, so like in some way, but I
Mhm.
wasn't really like I didn't really understand coding when like the teacher taught me because
Mhm.
it was just the same, like the way they teach, like you start with basic codes or like hello world. They
Exactly.
introduce you to HTML, C++, all those. And
Mhm.
yeah, to some degree I did understand it, but I wasn't sure like what exactly the application was. And
Mhm.
so so like every like my dad wanted me to be an engineer since I didn't take biology in 11 12, so that was the other option. So I did appear for JE mains. I messed up a lot in my 12th, grade. Okay, I'm gonna be
Mhm.
honest. I barely got 58%, but
Oh.
for my JEE main, yeah, I barely got 58%. I barely passed in physics. Although I love physics, I just didn't like the physics, like the way they taught. But
Mhm.
I got really good grades in JEE mains, so
Mhm.
that's why I got into RAIT, the engineering college,
Oh.
the DY Patil in Navi Mumbai,
Mhm.
right? But so during that time, I got into computer engineering, computer science or computer engineering, and I still was very confused, and I didn't really get into any subjects in computer related to computer science in my first semester. And
Mhm.
around that point, I started exploring with a lot of tools, right? So one of the because I used to play a lot of video games, so one of the tools that I
Oh.
started exploring with was Unreal Engine. It's like a
Oh.
game engine where you create games, right? So
Mhm.
I really wanted to understand how you create games. Like I really didn't
Mhm.
know. Like so, Unreal Engine was one of the like the game engines. I think I was playing Splinter Cell game, and it was the game was made on that engine. So I just did some research on it, and I found out
Mhm.
that you can download the Unreal Engine officially. You can start
Mhm.
working on it on your own.
Mhm.
And at this point, I genuinely had no idea about like computer science, why I'm coding, what I'm
Mhm.
working on, right?
Mhm.
So this is when I started like looking into how to put objects, the environment into the video game, and how you put
Mhm.
objects into it, all those kind
Mhm.
of stuff. And and I think I took CAD class. We had like engineering drawing class, and we were learning CAD at the same time in engineering, right?
Mhm.
So I was able to like take that CAD class knowledge and associate it with the environment that you create in the Unreal Engine. Now
Mhm.
that just becomes like the design part. Now this is the and did you play CS Counter Strike?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you remember Ardima map, right?
Yes.
Ardima map. So
Mhm.
I tried to tried to make a very similar map in
Mhm.
Unreal Engine. Now I was not that successful, but I had the basic idea of that, like how you can create that map.
Mhm.
So I started putting objects on it, and now
Mhm.
these objects, I needed to give some properties, right? Like there was like the water thing that you can go, so the gravity becomes zero or something like that, and you go up, all those kind. So that's when I started putting objects and started giving it properties, those objects, right? You can
Mhm.
like it's transparent, you can go through it or whatever. And that's when I realized this is object oriented programming. And
Mhm.
that's how I understood object oriented programming basically. So anyone, like any new person who is trying to get into coding or something like that, I give them this example. Like, imagine you're
Mhm.
in a video game, your favorite video game, you have guns or cars or whatever it is, and
Mhm.
you put that object. So a designer puts that object, or you put that object. Now you want to give those objects some properties, and
Mhm.
that's how you create functions and class within that object. You can copy those, like there you can make multiple guns. So you can use the same code for multiple guns, right? You just have give them
Correct.
different properties. So
Mhm.
that's how I learned computer science. Now
Mhm.
coming back to the Penn, I know we discussed a lot, but coming back to the how I got to Penn State. So while I was doing that and I was enjoying my college life at first year, I got I failed. I failed most of the subjects. Okay,
Oh.
I literally failed. I didn't really focus on it,
Oh.
and at that point, I was like, yeah, I should. I don't think this engineering thing is working for me, and
Mhm.
so I quit engineering basically,
Oh.
and and around like right before I got into engineering, I was
Mhm.
looking for options like different colleges. I went to different colleges to to so they have management quotas and regular quotas in our
Mhm.
engineering college, right? So my dad was like, just fill the form, we'll see. We are not trying to get in through management quota, but just for backup if you don't get into any engineering college. So
Exactly.
uh I went to Vidyalanka, right, during
Mhm.
this time for the form, and I met my school senior. His
Mhm.
name is Omkar Sawant, by the Omkar Sawant Bhosle.
Oh.
So I met him, and he was in that, and I asked him, "What are you doing?" So he told me that they have Vidyalanka has this 2+2 program where
Mhm.
you do 2 years in India and then 2 years abroad, right?
Mhm.
And they give you options. They give you options in countries, universities, even like if you want to do like you can start out with BMS and go
Mhm.
into management studies like business degree or accounting or finance degree where whichever university you transfer to. So I knew about this program around the time I quit engineering, right?
Mhm.
And so I I was like, maybe I should give it a try. Why not? So I
Hmm.
went to the Vidyalankar office and I asked them, like, what's this program about? So
Hmm.
what really caught my attention was the name Penn State, okay? And like
Okay.
you got confused, like it's U Penn. I
Yes.
got confused at point, like it's U Penn, right?
Hmm.
So I thought, like, I'm like U Penn, like how is that even possible, like, But then
Hmm.
I did some research. So then that's when I found out like Penn State is actually a very big deal. It's a very good university. It's one of the top
Hmm.
universities, and it has good ranking, good campus, and but that was like those are some other things like but there were like other universities too. So
Hmm.
I had like four universities. So no, wait, hold on. So we had US,
Hmm.
Canada, and UK too as an option,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You can choose out of these three countries, and I chose US because hype. US has a
Exactly.
hype. It always has a hype, right?
Correct.
It always has a hype, and and also I wanted to experience the culture, everything that I saw in American movies, like how the
Hmm.
college life is, and I really wanted to live that life, once in my life. So yeah, US was definitely sure, right? And then I had three options at the time for US.
Hmm.
One was Penn State, as I mentioned.
Hmm.
Another was Rutgers,
Hmm.
but not the main campus, Rutgers Camden,
Okay.
and
Okay.
California State University Monterey Bay campus, right?
Oh.
So I had these three options.
Hmm.
So I was gonna go to California because California is beautiful.
Exactly.
There's be yeah, and the course was also related. It was computer science, but
Hmm.
you can for like there was an option to focus in game development. And as I
Hmm.
told you about like my interest in game development, so that was one of the things that I was considering. California State University, Monterey
Correct.
Bay, amazing, like everything.
Hmm.
But I got into the program thinking about that. I started, and basically you start out, you do your first 2 years in India as a BSc IT student,
Hmm.
right? So you start do basically the same class that you do as BSc IT student. So during
Oh.
the first semester, I actually tried to understand the three options that I had: Penn State, Rutgers, and California State University. Right?
Hmm.
Even Penn State, we were not going to the main campus. We were going to like we had three, four options for campus.
Hmm.
But the thing is, in the end, the degree that you are gonna get in your hand,
Hmm.
Penn State was the only university that was like, not gonna state your campus or anything. It will have the same value as like, main campus.
Hmm.
You will have everything similar. Everything is attached to the main campus, and the main campus is not that far from like, like other sister campuses, right? And second main reason why I wanted to go to Penn State was jobs, because Penn State
Hmm.
had the most job opportunities, a
Hmm.
lot of companies, and the advisor that we had, like like they had connection with consulting firms like Deloitte too. Deloitte
Hmm.
considered. So a lot of my maximum or most of my seniors actually got placed into Deloitte directly
Hmm.
through like campus, and it's not even like campus interview that we have in India, or like the general US thing that they have where you go to career fairs, you talk to people. Just that it was a thing specifically for IST major, for major like my major students, and
Hmm.
they would like come to the campus, talk to us, and eventually we submit our resumes through our like and our professor would give the recommendation, and that's how you got the interview, right? So
Hmm.
that was one of the main reasons why I chose Penn State over Rutgers and let's say California State University.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's how I studied like the 2 years in India. It was pretty fun. It was chill. Not I didn't focus that much in studying, but uh, we also had some extra classes that was like credit requirement for you to go to Penn State because they have different requirements for your first 2 years. So that
Hmm.
was the story how I got into the this particular program.
So this program itself, is it like a special program, like the name of the program?
So Vidyalanka do have a separate website, I believe so. It's called VIIE, Vidyalanka Institute of International Education.
Oh.
VIIE. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So they have like specific. They have a lot of information on that.
Hmm.
Uh, Personally, my experience with Vidyalankar was not so good and not so bad. Okay, it was like all
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
I'm going to not going to say a lot of bad stuff because I need transcript for my master's application, so I will be in touch with. But it was decent. Like they
Hmm.
helped. A lot of teachers were really good,
Hmm.
and they helped a lot with, your TOEFL exam, your English proficiency exam, the
Hmm.
admission process. Everything was pretty smooth. Even the
Hmm.
visa process, they helped us out pretty, easily. But yeah, it was pretty good.
Hmm. So you had a batch of how many students, like around 50 or 60, just like
So
the average?
no, 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 no. So we had a very different, we had a completely separate division for foreign students. It's literally
Hmm.
called the you have A division, B division. Ours was F division because foreign batch. Okay,
Hmm.
and we had around 20, 25 students, around 20, 25 students during that time.
Oh.
The next batch that came, the program got super popular after that, and then they
Oh.
had like 40, 50 students. But when
Hmm.
we were there, we were like just 20, 25 students. So it was more personal, at least at during our time. After
Hmm.
that, I'm not sure, how it's going right now or what's happening. But I do I did go back to meet a lot of like the professor, the vice principal, who actually is the head of the international program.
Hmm.
And they did say, the popularity did increase a lot after our batch. And this program has been existing since 2008, I think. Yeah, 2008 or
Oh.
2010. Yeah, in 2008, right. This program is there since 2008. So
Hmm.
it wasn't just popular at that time. But yeah.
People aren't actually aware of such kind of programs. Even I wasn't aware. I came
Hmm.
across a similar kind of program that was a MS course from UMass
Okay.
Immersed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So even they told something like this, that you have to do your first year in India and your second
Hmm.
year in US. So at
Right.
that point of time, I felt quite fishy. That is the
Hmm.
reason
Right. Right.
I didn't went for that, because
Right.
programs like this obviously exist, but
Hmm.
if you aren't aware of what it might be really, you might have actually a skeptical point of view towards it. So
Yep.
at that point of time, it actually just disappears from your mind.
Hmm. Right.
If
Right.
I knew it, even I
Definitely.
would have done this one, because I know
Hmm.
finally everything boils down to the bachelor's. And
Yeah.
even if you pursue engineering, or let's say just a science degree in India, it is one or the
Hmm.
same.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm. Right.
feel quite much change, because I myself I am an IT engineer, and I can tell you that the syllabus of like BSc IT and
Hmm.
Bachelor's of Engineering IT is almost same.
Hmm. Okay.
70%
Okay.
things
Hmm.
really match with each other. Only the last year
Right.
there are some additional subjects that have been introduced that just make up like the Bachelor of
Hmm.
Engineering. Otherwise, it is one or
Gotcha.
the same. There
Right. Right.
isn't
Right.
much change.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, like even if you look at Bachelor of Engineering and Computer Science, right? They
Hmm.
both are practically same. Like maybe one, like someone told me, there are only two, three courses that are different in Mumbai University when it comes to
Exactly.
B. Yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, like it doesn't. In the end, it doesn't really matter how you start or like what you do, because I personally don't believe in colleges. Like that's one thing. Okay, like I do believe that a lot of students like I enjoyed college throughout. Like I enjoyed the learning part. Not in
Hmm.
India though. I enjoyed the learning part a lot, and at the
Hmm.
same time, I enjoyed the college life, everything, right? But what I observed around me is that not everyone enjoyed. Like most of the students didn't enjoy the learning part, even in US. In India,
Hmm.
like I see like people are mugging up and doing stuff, right?
Exactly.
So I don't, yeah, and I don't really. I couldn't perform well in Indian education system.
Hmm.
The last best I performed in Indian education system was in 10th grade, and that was the only time I performed great. Okay, after that, it didn't work out for me at all. It just I was not learning. I was stressed a lot. I was having enjoying the college life too, right? I'm not going to deny I enjoyed my college life in India a lot, but
Hmm.
I wasn't learning. And even in US, like no one forces you to learn. No one tells you that you have to learn, right? And
Hmm.
at the same time, the education is not free for most of the students, even the citizens who live there. They have to pay
Exactly.
like quite amount of money, and bachelor's is very expensive in US. But and
Mm.
still, I do feel like 70-80% of the university students, even in Penn State, I
Mm.
don't think they know what they are doing and why they are learning, like why they are there or why they are into
Oh.
the university. Yeah, it's
Mm.
not like that Indian education system is bad, or like American education system is good. And
Mm.
there are pros and cons for both, but
Exactly.
I still don't believe in both of them.
Mm.
That's gonna be my honest opinion. I do believe for myself because it worked out great for me. I learned,
Mm.
like I really enjoyed everything. Like the experience that I got, I would have never gotten that experience in India. I'm just talking
Mm.
about the learning perspective. But yeah.
Exactly. No,
Mhm,
if you will ask me, like in my
mhm,
opinion, particularly, I think that Indians need to catch up practically. Engineering
mhm,
has been kind of become like, if you are not from an elite college like an IIT or let's say NIT, you are not going to get that
mhm.
exposure that you should be getting. But in
Right,
US,
right.
even if you are from a lower grade university,
Yeah.
you tend to get exposure as much as an IIT, and IIT is like India's
Mhm.
cream. It is one of the
Yep,
best
yep,
institute.
yep,
So
yep.
that is the difference. In
Definitely.
US, you won't feel that difference. Even I have many
Mhm.
friends
No.
in US. They aren't from like
Mhm,
very top-notch colleges. Like forget about CMU or MIT. Considering,
mhm. Right.
let's say, not not so great, but in top 100 or top 150 colleges, even
Mhm. Right.
they, like their teaching methodology, they say is better than IIT. They
Oh
feel the
yeah.
difference. In India,
Mhm,
you either have to mug up a lot of stuff. So the rote
mhm.
learning approach is basically, screwing up with your mind because you have to memorize
Right.
a lot of things, but at the end, you are not gaining anything from it. Because
Yeah,
like
that's
after
true.
2 or 3 years, you are not even going to remember a single definition, and that is just
Mhm.
bookish. So
Yeah, man.
students aren't able to implement anything. That is the flaw I
Mhm,
believe there is. And
mhm,
they have basically extended the literature policy. So let's say
mhm,
the syllabus orientation they have designed from for like let's say
mhm.
arts courses, a literature course.
Right, right.
So they have just extended that similar teaching methodology in an applied course like engineering. That is the reason people don't take interest. And second is the veracity of the subjects. So let's say even if you are
Right.
from a computer science background, you have to
Mhm.
pursue like in your first year physics, chemistry, and
Yeah.
engineering
Mhm.
drawing, engineering mechanics, B
Right, right.
triple E. So all of these
Mhm,
subjects you don't have to really
mhm.
learn them in order to become a computer science
Right.
engineer,
Computer science engineer. Right,
but
right,
you
right.
have to go through all of those subjects, and at
Mhm,
the end many people feel bombarded because they get like
mhm,
dropouts. They become dropouts
mhm.
just because of those
Yeah.
subjects. Like let us assume
Right, right.
someone has a good understanding of computer science subjects, but
Mhm,
just their potential is going to get limited because there is engineering
mhm.
mechanics. I've seen many
Right,
people
right.
who have just
Mhm.
got KTs because of engineering mechanics.
Yeah, and I know people like that too.
Mechanics is a
Yeah,
problem, I know.
problem.
Like ED
I
is
did
fine,
mechanics. I
engineering
did the
drawing
first
is fine.
semester. I did first semester, right? So I did
Hmm.
engineering mechanics. I remember, but yeah,
Hmm.
but it's not so different in US too. Okay, that's one perception that people have, and that's a bad, wrong perception. Okay,
Hmm.
it's very same in US too, when
Oh.
it comes to undergrad. The
Hmm.
only difference is the professors are very understanding, and
Oh.
there is no common like we have, like for example, if you are in Mumbai and you are in any engineering college, even your physics, geography, and all those stuff, like exams, they come under Mumbai University. You have the
Hmm.
same, especially in first year, and it's
Correct.
common, right? And
Hmm.
there's no no your answer sheet can go to any professor in Mumbai, and they can uh, give whatever grade they can, like, and it's very bad. Like you're not even
Correct.
learning at that point, and
Hmm.
in the end, like you learn and you have a class for the entire semester, right? Let's say
Hmm.
physics or chemistry, and you have to mug up all that to for the entire semester, right? You have
Exactly.
to mug up everything that you learn in one semester for just one exam.
Hmm.
And when you compare that to, let's say, US, right? I
Hmm.
did take geography and geoscience and a lot of other classes. So the professors have a very personal touch to it, and those
Hmm.
professors are like uh, they are like very passionate about it. Like I cannot forget my geoscience professor ever in my life, because I've
Mm.
never seen a man so passionate about rocks in my life. And he had like a collection of rocks, over like maps from 200, 300 years, how like geography changed and
Mm.
everything. And at the same time, like his tests were like very simple, very easy, because he
Mm.
understood that not everyone in the class has that excitement for, let's say, geoscience. Not
Mm.
everyone is so passionate about rocks, right? And most of the people are just there to uh, complete the credits and get to the next class. And he acknowledges it. Every professor acknowledges it. They are not
Mm.
going to be that. But let's say you're in your first year or second year, and you generally have interest in that subject. You can reach out to the professor. You can
Mm.
reach out to the professor, and he can become your advisor, and he can guide you through how to go through your process, how to go through. Let's say you are in wrong major by second year, and you are generally interested in geoscience. He will
Mm.
explain you all the opportunities that you can get from geoscience or learning whatever he's teaching, what you can do
Mm.
with it. And you can change your major at that point. You can change your major at any point. Like it will take longer for you to graduate, but you can change your major by, like, let's say, second year, and you can
Mm.
still graduate in time, right?
Mm.
You can go from I've seen people go from IST major to communications major, which is like complete polar opposite. And communications, no,
Exactly.
I'm not talking about electronics and communications, okay? I'm
Mm.
talking about communication, like verbal,
Yes.
like literature type, daily.
Mm.
And they did that in second year, and they were still able to graduate in 4 years with a communications degree and get whatever they want, right? So
Mm.
that is the one flexibility that exists in US, and it's mainly like I feel the system is the cultural difference and the desire, like the difference in the system, how education system works in India. That is
Mm.
main like reason for this. And
Mm.
I also blame America in a way for the way our engineering education system is designed,
Mm.
because they want cheap labor in the form of software engineers, right?
Oh.
They end up they're taking, like getting thousands of software engineers who are way underpaid. Like you will
Mm.
do the same job in US, and I'm taking into consideration, like the economy, the cost of living in everything, and still
Mm.
the engineers in India are way underpaid, way
Exactly.
underpaid.
Correct.
And they have taken advantage of it, and that advantage has led to creation of a lot of engineering colleges in India, and they
Mm.
are just churning out a lot of software engineers, like a factory, through every year, and
Correct.
that's like the sad part of it.
Mm. Now, talking about your application, so you said you got admitted in the second year. So, have you given SAT exam? And if
No,
so, no. Okay, you
no,
were
no, no. I
directly
didn't give
admitted on the
essay.
basis of the 12th score.
No, not 12, not just 12th score. My 12th score, my first and second year BSc scores, they had a
Mm.
minimum requirement that you have to get this much percentage to get into this particular. They have like a tie-up with the university. They want international students to come in. Like it's like it's a proper transfer program, okay? And
Mm.
a lot of American universities appreciate transfer program and exchange program, because
Mm.
uh, the local students get to interact with international students, and at the same time we are paying like almost double the fees that they are paying. So it's a
Oh.
advantage for that too, because there's like domestic tuition and international tuition, and it's almost double.
Mm.
So
Mm.
they have that profitability too, and at the same time we get like an easier access to, let's say, to go to do bachelors in America,
Mm.
and also interact with, meet a lot of people, and the experience is like way different. Than by the time you enter fourth year, you are like almost working on professional grade projects, and literally, I'm
Mm.
not even kidding.
Mm.
And like projects that are actually like going to are happening in with some company. You get to participate in that project. Like at least that's what we got to do,
Oh.
and it was interesting. I can talk about it too, but like just
Mm.
let me know what do you think.
Yeah, sure, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So uh, so first, for that we need to understand, like what my major was exactly. Okay.
Mm.
So my major was information science and technology with
Okay.
focus in integration and application. I had like at least at my campus we had two options: integration and application, or design and development. Now, design and development is like, they will teach you basic coding, computer science thing, focus a lot on UI, UX, and also you take, there are a lot of classes that overlap with integration and application as well. And integration and application, you they expect you to know coding by the time you come there, like basics at least.
Oh.
And they, because no one is going to teach you coding in integration and application. It might be needed, but no one's going to teach you. uh, and so the project management course is something that overlaps in both, right? But integration and application had four classes that were like completely different than the four classes for design and development. And these four classes are like, you take it in for like consecutively for each semester. Like first semester you take IST 301, then second semester you take IS3, like 300 level classes, something like that. And by the time you go into the fourth level, there are 400 levels. So the levels are like, 100 level and 200 level are like the easier classes that you get done in your first, second year. 300 level is something you do in third year, and 400 level you do it in fourth year. You gotta basically you need to complete your 300 level classes to get into 400 level classes. Now, what my major focused a lot on was ERP systems,
Oh.
SAP. Have you heard about SAP,
Yes.
SAP, or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So so what this was one of the first things that my seniors told me, and also like that like who the professor who was also our advisor, don't say SAP in front of front of him, because he will get mad. He will say it's not SAP, it's SAP. Okay, because Indians call it SAP a lot. Okay, so that was one thing. Okay, so and basically he had like he is part of this network, which is connected to the SAP organization, and he got funding from university to get all the SAP technology into his program to teach students, and you actually use the SAP software throughout last 2 years of your bachelor's, right? So we started out with in first semester understanding how ERP system works, basic like doing supply chain management and all those kind of stuff. I remember there was like a competition on who like there was a competition of supply chain on SAP, the older platform, and to get like to bring the most efficiency, like get most profit with maximum efficiency for like and uh, let's say like hypothetical yeah, it was a simulation, my bad. So it was like a simulation competition, and you basically had to be the most efficient. So whoever was the most profitable at the end, they win and they get extra grades in that particular class. So that's how it started. We were introduced to SAP ERP system, understanding how it works, how the backend works and everything. And that eventually, by the time we got into the second semester, that got more like more into details, other calculations that you gotta do, understanding the system more, doing some like building the front end of an ERP system for an organization or something, like depending on their requirements, the project planning based on that. And by the time you get into third semester, yeah, so you go into detail and you learn as much as you can by third semester. Okay, and I think around that time he introduced us with SAP S4 HANA, which is like the latest version of SAP. So SAP is like companies invest like millions of dollars in integrating SAP into their organization, right? And basically, after you integrate this, like literally hundreds of millions of dollars, literally. And once you uh, integrate this application, this ERP system, you expect it to function for like at least 15, 20 years, 20, 25 years, depending on the organization. And that's how most of the ERP softwares traditionally work. But this S4 HANA thing was like revolutionary. They were going to use data analytics into it, cloud into it, like they are doing that. Main USP was like the cloud integration and the updates like you get on like on your iPhone, like you have iOS updates. So the all the system updates to increase the security, or maybe there's some bug in it, or so they can provide you that over the air update for the organization depending on the course. So that's like the S4 HANA, the newest version of it. So
Mhm.
that's what we explored more in third semester. Now
Mhm.
the final semester is our like capstone project.
Mhm.
So our advisor, he's super amazing person, by the way. Like he's like one of my favorite professors of all time. His name is Bill Cantor, okay, and
Mhm.
he has really helped us through the course and even finding jobs and everything.
Mhm.
So the last class of his is basically capstone project, and he
Mhm.
tries to get a real project, a company, or maybe some research project that's happening within Penn State or something like that,
Mhm.
and he tries to get a project from them that the students can do for their final semester. And in final semester, he divides the class in, maybe the entire class can literally turns into an office, and the entire semester they work on this project. The professor does not help with, like, the basic functioning or team management and all those kind of things with the project. He just
Mhm.
looks into it, and if you run into any problem, he'll guide you, right?
Mhm.
So during our time, the Penn State was actually shifting from their like the old system to SAP S4 HANA system.
Mhm.
Uh, and this was amazing opportunity for us because professor helped us to get working on this project,
Exactly.
and we worked on the migration side of it. We worked on, and at the same time, we had just learned about SAP. We had learned basic data science from some class that we took in our third semester,
Mhm.
and that's all we knew, right? And we entered fourth semester with this knowledge, and now we first went to understand the project. Okay, we were handed over the project that we are supposed to do this particular thing, right?
Mhm.
And I volunteered to become project manager for this project, right?
Oh.
Because I'm really interested in project management, and I really love like being the leader, but not like at the level where like you are above the team, but with the team, but you manage a lot of things, right?
Mhm.
Within the team.
Correct.
So that's what I always want. I generally want to get into, but we went for the meeting with the team, and we are tried to understand what the project was. So the project
Mhm.
basically was to so the data that is generated on by the S4 HANA platform, right? So we
Mhm.
had to convert that data into we have to visualize that data and create a what do you call hmm, I'm not getting, I forgot the word. Dashboard, yeah, sorry, my bad.
Mhm.
So you create a dashboard for we have to create a dashboard for financial officers who can
Oh.
make sense of that data. They
Mhm.
can make sense of that data, like tuitions, or like what's happening with the. So basically, like that's what our project was.
Mhm.
And we so yeah, we were supposed to use two business intelligence tools,
Mhm.
SAP Webby, or the one you might know, Power BI, which is quite
Mhm.
like famous in the industry right now. So these two tools we never worked with, right? Power BI or
Oh.
SAP Webby. So it was a
Mhm.
good opportunity for us to learn and at the same time build that dashboard throughout the
Exactly.
semester.
Mhm.
And professor provided us with most of the resources, but everything we did was through this project, and it was amazing because you actually worked on a real project. We
Mhm.
actually had a real timelines to meet. We had to submit the entire project by the end of like the semester. That was our timeline,
Mhm.
and there were problems with the like within the teams, with the client, and we've got to work with consultants as well from different companies,
Mhm.
because they were actually because whenever you work on any project, you have different sets of teams, different sets of consultants who help you out with the project, right, to smoothen the transition. And we got to work with them to understand the project better overall. In the end, it was amazing experience. So that's something I don't think I would have gotten if I was working, if I did my bachelor's from India.
Exactly. Correct. The main reason that I particularly think is that students aren't actually, intrinsically motivated to do the graduation. It is just because of the peer pressure and the parental pressure, societal pressure.
Yeah.
So most likely, I would say like 85%. Now this is a harsh reality, but like 85% of the people in India, they purchase their
Mhm.
final year projects. They don't make it.
Yeah,
They
I
purchase
know.
it. So that
Hmm.
for them, like purchasing is fine. They are like, yeah, we are done with finally the term work that we are given. But it
Hmm.
is their loss. They don't understand that.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Now, the way you mentioned all the procedure, because you said you had a real hands-on experience, you led a
Hmm.
team, the professor was
Hmm.
with you. So professor was also showing that much amount of interest just
Hmm. Yeah.
to get your attention, make the
Hmm.
things work. That doesn't happen in India, frankly speaking.
Yeah.
Very rarely
Hmm.
a professor is going to take interest in you, because students themselves aren't intrinsically motivated. Even if the
Hmm.
professor is motivated to pursue a particular task, the students are not going to, sit with him or her, and
Hmm.
they will be like, yeah, let's do it. It doesn't happen. It
Okay.
doesn't happen.
So I actually kinda like, I actually thought about it. Okay.
Mm,
Like, why is this particular thing happening? Because that happened with me. Like, and the main reason is we students never respected our teachers, especially the
exactly.
teachers in school and colleges. And
Mm,
I put the blame on tuitions, and that the
mm,
tuition culture that we are like used to from, let's say ninth grade, ninth,
mm,
10th, you do tuitions, you barely pay any attention in your school, even in 11th, 12th. Like I barely went to junior college ever, and all the learning that I got was from the tuitions. And that
mm,
mindset just comes into your mind, right? Your college teacher is just there to give you grades and pass, and you are
mm,
not going to actually learn into it. And that culture starts from the very beginning.
exactly.
You don't have that respect for teachers, and there are genuine teachers in India who actually want to teach the students, but there are
Correct.
very like 1% of the student in class, maybe they actually want to learn from you. Only one
Exactly.
or 2% will be like, would actually genuinely respect you.
Mm,
And that's a very toxic work environment, even for the teachers who,
exactly.
must have done their master's or PhD and try to get into that field. So
Mm,
it's both like that. This is what I thought over the period of time, because I got experience in India and then I learned from in US as well. And I saw like students actually respected the teachers, right?
mm,
Because they paid their money. They were never, most of the students are never forced into getting into universities. Whereas
correct.
in India, like that's the only option, because
Mm,
even after you do your high school, let's say in US, you can live a very decent life. You can earn a decent amount of money and you can have a
mm,
very comfortable life. So
correct.
all the students who come into university, they are actually going out of their way to complete their degree.
Exactly.
And this is from like I'm talking about American students. I had a lot of
Mm,
American friends, okay, and one of them, she's one of my very good friend. Her name is
mm,
Carly, and
mm,
bro, like if you looked at how much she worked just to get that college degree, and her
mhm,
parents never cared. Like they didn't really care about her getting a college education. Okay, she
mm,
worked as a waitress for 60, 70 hours a week, and at the same
mm,
time took 4 classes at my campus.
mm,
And that was like amazing. Like, and she was paying her own tuition. She was living on her own. The rent
mm,
was she was paying on her own, and she used to travel around 40 minutes to 1 hour every day just to get to the campus to
mm,
go to classes. And
mm,
this is something she went out of the way, and she respects that. She's like, I'm putting hours into my education, and I want to do the best I can from it.
correct.
And that same passion I don't see in a lot of students in general in India. Like
Exactly.
they are there. Yeah.
The issue is that education for them is just an
Mhm.
obligation. They
Yeah.
need that particular degree just to get a job. If you offer them a job, nobody is going to come and learn. Even when I conduct workshops and I
Mhm.
interact with the students, hardly I see like 1 or 2% students taking
Mhm.
genuine
Mhm.
interest. Okay, they are
Yeah.
genuinely
Mhm.
interested in learning the stuff. But if you will ask the backbenchers, or let's say, they are like just concentrating somewhere or the other. So I am like,
Yeah.
okay, just don't create a nuisance. I'll teach the way I want, because the people who actually want to learn are learning.
Mhm.
I know it.
Right.
No
Right.
one is intrinsically motivated not to learn a new technology, and they'll be complaining. That is the worst thing, because the students are going to
Oh yeah.
complain that, okay, our syllabus is like backward and we aren't able to catch up. And whenever a college arranges the stuff
Mhm.
by getting the people from outside the college, they are not going to sit. Okay, they feel like, okay, we don't have to do this. That itself
Yeah.
indicates that there is a parental, societal, and peer pressure on the
Yeah.
shoulders of the student. So there
Mhm.
the education feels like an obligation.
Hmm.
in India,
Right, right,
because your
definitely.
parents are going to pay for your education. So most
Hmm.
likely you don't have that value. Whereas the way you
Yeah, yeah,
say
yeah.
told about
Hmm.
the Carla, Carla, that is the name. Carly,
Carly.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can see the difference itself, because she is
Right, right.
actually intrinsically motivated to grab that
Hmm.
opportunity,
Yeah.
gain that degree, gain the access to that
Hmm.
degree and everything. In
Right,
India, it
right,
is
right.
not like that. That is the sad part, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah, definitely. Another one main thing that I do appreciate about my experience
Mm,
was so if you are into an engineering college, right, you basically learn everything related to science in, like, let's say, like something related to science in first 2 years, and then everything basically goes to your degree, like computer
mm,
science,
mm,
or IT or electronics and telecommunication. And by,
correct.
I think, by third year or fourth year, you only have classes related to that. Correct me if
Mm,
I'm wrong, right?
mm,
Now, when I was in third year, I took business minor, right? So I had to take accounting as a class.
mhm,
And now I never thought that I would take accounting, because like usually accounts is like, BCom or like commerce side, right? And
mm,
I know a lot of BCom, like a lot of students from lot of I have a lot of friends from BCom side who are working as a CA, and they are like, there are people who hate accounting, or like, who are really good at accounting. And
mm,
I just never thought that I would learn accounting, right?
mhm,
And now, first of all, kudos to the professor. She's
mhm,
another one of my favorite professors of all time. Okay, her name is
mhm,
Megan Lawrence. She
mhm,
taught me accounting, and I was like, okay, I'm getting into this class to get good grades. My seniors were
mm,
like, bro, you will love that teacher, this and that, and I'm like, no, I just want to get grades. I don't really want to, like, get into account, like I don't know how it makes sense for my major, something related to technology. Maybe
mm,
later when I become a manager, maybe I'll have to think about it or something like that, right? That
mhm,
was my approach to the class. Now when I went into the class, okay, she had a very different vibe. Okay, she was fast, she was like, she was quick, she will always get to the point. She actually, because she worked as an investment banker
mhm.
before she became a professor, right? And her background was she did her bachelor's and master's in 4 years, right
Oh.
after high school. Yeah.
Mm,
And she only got one. She had only one class where she got A minus. She was straight A student from first year to fourth year. She cried about, like, not getting, because she could have graduated with bachelor's and master's with a 4.0. Just because of
mm,
one class, she got 3.9 or something like that, right? So she always had that attitude, and she brought that fast-paced attitude into the class, which
mm,
made accounting not boring at all. And I
mm,
understood accounting.
mm,
It made sense to me. I learned it was more focused on financial side. Also, there was managerial accounting too, but more
mm,
focused towards the financial side. And it gave me a completely different approach to that, a different view on how businesses work, how technology works in businesses, right?
mm,
Because at the same time I was learning ERP systems. In the same semester I was learning about ERP system, how they function, how supply chain functions in a business, how technology is used in that. And at the same time I was learning accounting, and they both went hand in hand. And at the same time I was taking some management class that also made sense with all these classes. Now
mm.
this is an exposure that, a lot of engineering students do lack, because they don't know where
Exactly.
they are applying this technology. And
Mm,
uh, and the main problem is our engineering colleges are completely isolated from like arts colleges or commerce colleges. Even if you look at career Somya, even though they have, like, BCom and BSCIT arts and everything, but you will never see a engineering student like, talk or be friends with someone from BCom. Like, they are all in their own, they are segregated in their own, and they never learn where they are going to apply that technology. And
correct.
that's very important, because you don't know why you are learning what you are learning. You are just learning to do something about it.
Exactly. That is
Yeah,
true. So
but
now,
in the end, mhm.
considering the Pennsylvania, so it is extremely chilly place.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So what were some of the good things that you can mention about the Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania, okay. So Pennsylvania, like, first of all, like when you think about US, Bollywood has always shown us New York
Exactly.
most of the time, right? And we have that, that thing in our mind. And Pennsylvania is
Mm,
completely not that. Not. It's too laid back. It's chill, all greenery, all. Like I was living close to York downtown area, right? And it
mm,
is one of the shittiest place in the world. But other than that, the Pennsylvania is pretty chill because I was literally living in a hood. That's the bad part. I will come to that later. Okay. Now the good part of Pennsylvania was it's chill. People, if you go to southern side of America, there could be like racial things and all those. But Pennsylvania barely had any of those racial problems. At least to brown people or Desi people.
mm, mhm,
And there were a lot of Indians, American Indians. I made so many, I made good friends with, people I would never imagine. Like, two, three of my friends are Pakistani, really good friends are Pakistani. Okay.
mm,
Car is basic, imagine Mumbai without local trains. Now,
mm.
that's life in 90% of the US without a car because you can't go
Oh,
anywhere.
mm,
Especially, when you have, especially in winter,
mm.
there are barely any sidewalks. Okay,
Oh,
there are a lot of places there are no sidewalk. You cannot walk to places, and you
mhm,
cannot do groceries and anything. Car is one basin. So these guys helped me a lot. All of them who were American, who have cards, to do basic grocery or sometimes take us, bring us from the college or something like that. Anything.
mm,
And that was like one good aspect of it. And food, yeah, food. I love American food, and I'm a
mm,
non-vegetarian. Like you're non-vegetarian.
mm.
I eat everything. So every animal that's possible to eat. So I never had any problem with food also because that's something a lot of Indians face issue with, right? So I
Correct.
never had that. Yeah, because I had a lot of vegetarian friends and their life was genuinely miserable and they barely could eat anything.
Mm,
And another good thing was since there are a lot of Indians and Desis, there are a lot of Indian stores. So
mm,
even if you have some cravings about craving, like even in like such a secluded remote part of America, like it was not that remote, but considering where I was living, there were Indian stores around. And if you had like craving for let's say Maggie or
mm,
chakli or something like that, or even like fruity, maza, anything, you can get
mm,
anything you want,
mm,
anything. I eventually moved to Harrisburg, and there were a lot of Hollywood restaurants. Like even there was a restaurant right like just 2 blocks away from me. I was living in Harrisburg downtown, which is capital of Pennsylvania, right?
mhm.
So the restaurant's name is Bollywood Bar and Grill. Okay, you get
Oh.
all the Indian food, plus you get Kingfisher. You can never get like, bro, that's the best shit in the world. So you get my point, right? You get
Mm,
all the vibe, yeah. And that too in some a place like this where I generally didn't expect. So
mm,
that was good part. People are super nice. Like more like they are super nice. Like I lived in New York for like short while too, and in New York, New York life is very similar to Mumbai, right? There is
mm. Correct.
traffic, there is kachara, there are
Mm,
weird smells coming out of all places. Anything
mm,
like it's always crowded. People don't give shit about other people. You walk and
mm.
people just walk past you, right? In
Correct.
Pennsylvania, it's completely opposite.
Mm,
Every single person will say hi, how are you. They will go into the details, like literally, you literally have to hold doors for people. Like
mm,
this is one of the biggest problem. Okay, so I'm like, imagine like I'm going from point A to point B, and there's a door quite far, right?
mm,
And there's a American person quite far now, quite ahead of me, like let's say
mm,
like 15 steps away from me. And
mm,
he opens the door and he's looking back, right? So he's looking back and he sees me. So he hold
mm.
the door, man. And I get awkward, like, should I run or what? Like, so I would be like, okay, I need to run. I don't want them
Mm,
to hold the door for long time. So people are super nice, okay? And
mm,
they will make conversation. They will try to have a lot of conversations with you.
mm.
Uh, you don't even know them. You're meeting them for the first time and they will still try to know you. And that's something like, good part of at least the Pennsylvania. And I do believe like a lot of places are like that in America. But yeah, that was pretty interesting.
And right after moving from India to US, what were the specific cultural differences that you felt? So,
Hmm.
some stereotypical things that we come across in movies. So, what were
Hmm.
some of the things that you faced in particular? Cultural
Okay,
differences.
Right. So cultural differences. Let's start. I'll talk about college first, and then I'll talk about my work experience because I did
Hmm.
some internship, and there are a lot of cultural differences too, right?
Hmm.
So college life, although ours was a small campus, but we were not that far from the main campus, right? And Penn State is known for party. It is the party capital, party school of United States. Like literally, most of the Americans come to Penn State because it is the party school. I'm not even
Hmm.
kidding. And one of the biggest deal that Penn State has is uh, football, American football, college football.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Correct.
Penn State is number one or number two in entire country,
Hmm.
right? And it's so big deal. Like once you are done with this, just Google, just search for a video on YouTube. Penn State whiteout and
Hmm.
for look at the first or second league, and you'll be like, bro, this is like you are in Wankhede, but this is college college football, and
Oh.
the tickets go for like 300 $400 like minimum at the worst stand ever, and this is just for college football. They have millions of dollar budget for this, and because of that,
I
they like there is like a big party culture around it. There are fraternities, sororities. I did went to a frat party, and it was exactly how you see frat houses. Like it was
Hmm.
exactly how you imagine, like in the American movies. It was
Hmm.
exactly that, and that was like it wasn't a cultural shock for me.
Hmm.
It was more like I knew about this, and I get to live that. So that was
Hmm.
amazing. Like one time. Yeah, I'm not like you can look into it too. So Priyanka Chopra was in our campus because Joe
Hmm.
Jonas was performing live at Penn State. So she was
Hmm.
there with her husband, even Sophie Turner, Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones, right? And they also Penn State hosts the stadium is pretty big, right? The football stadium that I was talking about. So there are big concerts too, like big artists like Post Malone, Travis Scott. All those artists do come to Penn State. 21
Hmm.
Pilots, everything. Yeah. So that is like amazing, and that is one of the main reasons that if you really want to enjoy your college life, you should go to Penn State. It is super expensive, cost of living is super expensive, but if you do
Hmm.
have the money, I'm talking about the main campus, okay? So do have the money, it's a completely different experience, right? Go for it. So that was like the party side of it. Another cultural difference that from universities, like the clubs, right? The
Hmm.
student clubs. The clubs are like especially for Indians, we have like we had multicultural club. It was basically Indian club. Okay, we celebrated almost everything, Holi, Navratri,
Hmm.
everything. It was supposed to be multicultural, but eventually it turned into Indian,
Hmm.
almost Indian. Okay, so that was amazing. The other cultural difference, like that, like cultural shock. The more like what shocked me was how slow the life is in Pennsylvania, right?
Hmm.
Like as compared to how it is in Mumbai. Mumbai is very fast paced. You run
Oh.
for everything, right? And Pennsylvania is like chill, like slow. People will go to office like right on time, and they will
Hmm.
leave the office by 4 5 p.m. And they'll just
Hmm.
chill.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how the life is. And coming to the like where I did internship. So
Hmm.
I did my internship at the courthouse of
Hmm.
York County, like
Hmm.
literal courthouse where like they take so there's like the police department of the entire county. There's the court, like where all the criminals come and do their hearing and stuff. Passport office is also in within that courthouse and everything. So
Hmm.
that's where I did my internship in the
Hmm.
information technology department, right?
Hmm.
And have you watched Office, the
Hmm.
show? Yeah, bro. So Office is based off in Scranton, Pennsylvania, right?
Exactly.
And I'm not that far. I was not that far from Scranton, and
Hmm.
people are very similar. Like people will talk about anything instead of working. People are very chill, like slow pace. Okay, it's like fine, man. Yeah, we'll get this work done. It barely like one or two times that it will get like too stressful, and that
Hmm.
was like at least that office. Like there wasn't much growth into it because I did have an opportunity to work full time there, but
Hmm.
I didn't see any growth in that
Hmm.
particular like thing, and they didn't really sponsor visa, so even in long term it didn't work, like it wouldn't have worked out for me. But people were amazing. I got amazing experience, like decent experience. I won't call amazing experience. It was
Hmm.
decent, but I learned like a lot of things that I learned in my, let's say, management class, right? So
Mm,
in management class they teach you about like how managers should, like what managers should ideally do, and
mm,
what the leader should ideally do. And our leader completely did the opposite thing most of the times in the office, because it is very like old school office. He would
mm,
micromanage. People would hate him, like like most of the cases. Like that's that. It was a thing, right? He was the director of technology, but he was really good with me. I never had any problems with it.
mhm,
He gave me like he told me at the end of the internship that you can come back and work. I uh, I did get to work with like sometimes I would solve problems for judges or
mm,
sheriffs, like the police officers, the sheriff
mm,
department. So one time I was in the so I was working on a project, right?
mm,
Again, integration of an ERP system, and at the same time I was doing the typical IT work, like solving the like technician work, like if there's some issue you go and you solve that problem. So one of the tickets came from the courthouse, the court, like the courtroom,
mm,
not from
mhm,
the courthouse building, but the courtroom, the actual courtroom.
mm,
I was so the person who was guiding me, he was like, "You want to see the courtroom?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?"
mm.
And we went there, and the hearing was actually going on at that time.
Oh.
Okay, there was a criminal on, like actually was there were two criminals. One of the criminals was in a jail some far away, in some jail through, and they were doing through FaceTime, and
Mm,
there was some issue with, like the FaceTime thing, not FaceTime, the video call thing, right?
mm,
And there was one criminal like standing there, and they were going through the proceeding while we were trying to fix the problem. So that was like, okay, like this is exactly how I imagined like the courtrooms were. So that was one fun experience. And yeah, that's where, like, I don't think I would have ever gotten that experience even in like Indian courthouse. But yeah, it was fun. Something.
Now, talking
Mhm.
about your recent admit that you got into the Waterloo, Canada.
Right, right. Hmm.
So, what is that course about? So, what is the course actually, and what it is about?
Hmm. So I want so basically I didn't get the job, right. I actually saw your video about masters in India, so
Mm,
I will try to connect it in some way, right,
mm,
to your thing. So so I didn't get like the job that I was trying to get. I had some decent job opportunities, and I got placed to some companies, but because of the visa issue, like they were not sponsoring, that got cancelled. And because of COVID, lot of recent grad programs got cancelled. So recent grad
exactly.
program is basically you graduate and then they put you in different projects over the period of 2 years, and then they
Mm,
put you on like a permanent project. So those
mm,
lot of those programs got cancelled. I but okay, so this is something, before we go to that part, something I really like to mention is the reason why I got into Penn State was because of good job opportunities, right?
mm,
And I did land up getting lot of interviews, like amazing amount of interviews that I didn't expect to get with,
mhm,
let's say, EY. I got interview with EY. So
mm.
Deloitte stopped sponsoring the visa at exactly at the time when I was graduating, and all my
Oh.
seniors basically got into Deloitte. Okay, so I was preparing myself based on that, but it didn't work out because of the visa sponsorship thing. But I
Mm,
interviewed with EY, went through like 2 rounds, bombed on third round. The most intense interview I had was with Bank of America, which went on
mm.
for almost 16 hours. Uh,
Oh.
yeah, and I did total 4 rounds. The first 3 rounds easy, technical rounds easy, no problem. Like the first
Mm,
round was coding interview, but we were supposed to do it online, and they would check the video footage of how we were coding and
mm,
what we were doing. They would screen capture how I was coding, right?
mm,
Now here's the interesting bit about it. Okay, so the interesting bit is I was not. By the time I was giving this interview, I didn't prepare for coding at all. Okay,
mm,
and my friend told me, bro, it's going to be coding intel. There will be three questions, and you have to solve those three questions. And
mm,
he's like, he tried to somehow copy from a phone, but it didn't work out, and he ended up like doing something. One of my friend, he prepared for coding. Even he got the interview, and he coded as much as he can, honest, like without looking anywhere, without copying anywhere. Now I got to the interview, I saw the question, and I was like, okay, bro, I'm not going. No, I won't be able to solve this question.
Mm.
So, and I knew they were recording, they were capturing my screen record, right? But I was like, fuck it. Since I'm already in this interview, I will try to solve this problem. So I
Mm.
went from Google, copy pasted the same question, got a similar problem, similar solution to the problem. It was a completely different, uh, like numbers algorithm was slightly different. There were a lot of differences, but I copy pasted that back into the where I was supposed to code, right?
Mm.
And then depending on what was like based on the question, I made some changes into the code, and that's what I did for all three problems. I was able to solve two problems. I literally didn't write the code at all. This was first round, okay? And the
Mm.
third problem, I was not able to get the answer. Now, I think it was 2 3 months later, I was the only guy who got to the second round,
Oh.
even after actually copying the code from internet from Google. And I
Mhm.
think, like, in the point, I was the main reason I'm saying this story is because I don't think they expect you to be the best coder or anything. I think they
Mm.
expect you to be a good problem solver most
Exactly.
of the time, like
Correct.
how you solve the problem. Because
Mm.
a lot of people who are like full stack developers and a lot of developers and engineers that I talk to, they are like, even we don't code the code like we don't code from scratch. A lot of time we look at full Stack Overflow and a lot of other places to
Correct.
get an algorithm and they modify it.
Mm.
And maybe because of that, I got like into the second round. So the
Mm.
3 rounds went fine. Because all three, like the rest of the 2 rounds where I had like interview, they were like with Americans. The fourth round, the final round, I was interviewed by four Indian senior directors,
Mhm.
and they were like in their 50s or 60s, right? Very senior level, high level people,
Mm.
director and managers. Like two of them were directors, two of them were managers,
Mm.
and they basically like I cried during that interview in my mind because it was very they were very strict and and most of the people that I was competing with, because I checked the common, like whenever you get the mail for schedule for the mail, right? So I was just checking who all got the mail, who all this mail was sent to, and I was trying to find them on LinkedIn, stalk them, and I saw that they were PhD students or master students in doing masters in data science, and I am barely
Mm.
know any data, and this position was data scientist. So
Oh.
I looked at the fourth round, but
Mm.
it was still an amazing experience because I got to know a lot overall.
Mhm.
So again, coming back to the point, so all of this contributed to me not getting the job in the end, and and around that time I decided, like let's say like around a month before I left US, I had
Mm.
decided that yeah, I'm gonna do masters. Okay,
Mm.
because I think uh, like I will try to apply for masters. Not that I
Mm.
will do masters. I'll try to come to India and find job in India, and then but during that time, if I do get a decent job, I'll gain experience, because my first priority was always to get an experience before I go for masters. Right
Mm.
now, I had a from Penn State, I was definitely going to get admit for masters because the transcripts are already there. I know I had good recommendations within Penn State. I knew a lot of people within Penn State, so getting admission into Penn State for masters was not going to be difficult. And I was looking into programs related to, let's say, information systems, business analytics, or like data science or something related to that. So that was all that was always like the backup. Like if I don't get into any place, I would go back to Penn State. But I'll first come back to India. So when I came back to India, again the job market, like it was very difficult to get a job. Okay, so
Mm.
if you do your master's, sorry, undergrad, or even I'm not sure about master, but if you do undergrad from US, it's not like uh to get an entry level job, it's very difficult.
Mm.
Either you will be like, there will be jobs that they will pay you like shit, like because literally I got a job opportunity from some company in Mumbai, and it was for iOS developer, and they were gonna pay 1,75,000 rupees per year. And I'm like, okay, like how? And I was gonna work from Monday to Saturday, and it just didn't make sense, man. Like I didn't feel like spending that much time and then getting paid nothing, almost nothing.
Correct.
Okay, so those were the opportunities that I was getting. and let's say I was trying to get into multinational companies or big companies who might have like decent, like, at least like I didn't have like very huge expectations for salary too. Like I just wanted to get good experience, but they have very like uh, they are like they most of them hire recent freshers
Mm-hmm.
directly from engineering colleges, and my profile didn't really reach out to anyone, and I got interviews for any of the companies, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that didn't work out, and I started applying for colleges within in US as well as Canada. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so in US I was like, okay, US is going to be too expensive for me, and Canada will be a lot cheaper. But
Oh.
if I apply to Canada, I want to get into top universities,
Mm-hmm.
and my GPA was good. My GPA is like GPA from Penn State is good. Penn State has a good reputation, and I have amazing references because the three references that I'm gonna get from my professors, they have amazing story to tell about me.
Mm-hmm.
All three of them. Okay, because I went out of my way to be in their class and do projects and stuff like that, and they always like they I still talk to them on regular basis when it comes to educational advice, or like just what's happening in the industry, what's happening with their family, and we are like good friends literally. And I knew, okay, I was gonna get amazing references from them. So I was like, okay, by the time I try to find a job in India, I'll shoot my shot into like the best colleges that I might not be able to get into. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
in US, I was looking into Carnegie Mellon.
Oh.
The University of Michigan has a really good program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and these are and then MIT. I applied to MIT Sloan School of Business
Mm-hmm.
because I was getting mails from them about master in finance and some STEM related, and I was always interested in that part of data science and stuff like that. And I saw a lot of consultants getting a lot of people getting hired as consultants with Deloitte and Big Four companies from MIT
Mm-hmm.
Sloan, international students, okay, Indian specifically. So those were the three colleges that I was looking into in US, and at the same time I was looking into Canada because, but again, top university. I also applied to four universities, uh, which were non-thesis based, right? Because
Oh.
there is thesis based masters, non-thesis based masters. So
Correct.
thesis based is something research, and then you get into PhD. And I
Mm-hmm.
genuinely enjoy learning, and I am actually considering getting into PhD eventually. But I didn't have like a research paper or something ready to apply for thesis based, and I had a very limited time to look for a supervisor, because if
Mm-hmm.
you want to get into a Canadian university on for a thesis based course, you have to reach out to a supervisor, and then you apply for your course. Supervisor is like a professor who is working on particular research, and he basically you want to work on similar research, so he will interview you, and he will eventually think assess all the students who interviews, and then give admission to select few students for thesis based masters and eventually PhD, right?
Correct.
So I had very limited time about it, so I was looking into course-based masters. So
Mm-hmm.
I applied to University of Toronto for Master of Information, University of Ottawa for Masters in Digital Transformation or something like that, like related to data science.
Mm-hmm.
Then I applied to Scully School of Business for Master of Management.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, I had option for focusing on the technology side of it, and then fourth, University of Waterloo for Masters in Management Sciences.
Mm-hmm.
And I only got admit. And so, funny story, I wasn't expecting to get admission from Waterloo at all, because uh, I don't know if I should reveal it or not, but let's just say I forgot to submit one important document. Okay, and I still
Oh.
haven't submitted it, and that was a crucial document because I was not going to give GRE. I didn't have English to IELTS. I didn't give IELTS also because I was like most of the universities, since I did my bachelor's from US, so I didn't have to give any kind of English proficiency for admission into college.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, on 20th of April, I got letter of acceptance from Waterloo, which was surprising because Waterloo is one of my dream universities because of mainly because of their co-op program.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about Waterloo's co-op program by any chance?
No. Co-op, no.
Okay, okay.
I've
So
came
your
across
mind is
there
going to be
many
blown.
computer science program.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. So computer science co-op program. So co-op program uh yeah, is available with anything related to technology, engineering, sciences, right? So
Mm-hmm.
your mind is going to get blown. So for example, so it's mainly known for its co-op bachelor's in computer science, right?
Mm.
So that's where the co-op is most useful. So you do first two semesters like a regular student, and after that you get into co-op program. So one semester you will do the like right after your first year you will do first co-op, which is like an internship for the entire semester, right?
Mm.
That's your third semester. Now you enter your fourth semester, you do your regular thing, and then for the fifth semester again you go back and work for a company. Then you
Oh.
come back for your sixth semester, complete the course, and then seventh semester you seventh and eighth semester you continuously work for, you can work for one company or two different companies, and then you
Mm.
come back and complete your bachelor's. So by the
Mm.
time you are graduating from Waterloo, you already have 2 years of full-time work experience,
Oh.
which no university can give, and at for especially for like something like computer science. And a
Mm.
lot of these internships are not limited to Canada. There are because Waterloo is very well known in Silicon Valley, so there are a lot of students uh, who got in, like Google literally comes on campus, Microsoft comes on their campus. So there are a lot of students
Mm.
who get internships in their second, third year to work with Google, Facebook, all those companies, and they eventually
Mm.
land up a job in Silicon Valley. Like, and
Mm.
they get job in California, internship in California.
Oh.
So this is what Waterloo is known for, and that's why
Mm.
it was my dream university, because I wanted to look into their co-op program, and they have very similar program for masters as well.
Mm-hmm.
So my program is, so it's in the management. Sorry, it's in the engineering department, right?
Oh.
So there are two options to apply for when you apply
Mm.
initially for master's program. So there is master's in management sciences, which I got into, which is course based, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there is another program, I don't remember the name specifically, but it is purely thesis based. You
Oh.
start out with having the same classes, but you're in thesis based, you end up working, studying towards research, not doing co-op. Here you have an option to do co-op, but
Mm-hmm.
for to get admission in this particular thing, you need to like get a supervisor, have some research based, like a research paper or something published to get
Mm-hmm.
into the thesis based program. Now I have an option to either get into co-op with my regular masters in management sciences, and at the same time I can get into this program which is thesis based by like finding a supervisor, try to find a supervisor, and then work on some research or something, and you can get into this thesis based program. So
Correct.
I'm still considering which program I want to get into, because I'm interested. The reason I got into what I want to go to Waterloo is co-op, but at the
Mm.
same time I still have the option to go with thesis based and eventually go for PhD. So that's still
Mm-hmm.
something I'm trying to figure out, and I think by the end of like the first semester I'll do there. I'll figure that stuff out particularly. But the
Mm.
overall program is about management. It's like you have three subdivisions within the program, so you can focus on information systems, you can focus on
Mm.
supply chain management, you can focus on data analytics. It depends on what classes you take, what you want to do. So again, these
Mm.
three things, again, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to get into specifically, but all three options are best, like from my perspective, from what
Mm.
jobs I want to work in or what co-ops I want to work in. So yeah, that's my program basically.
Mm. And now, this is our last question for today.
Okay. Okay.
So, this is related to, like, I would like you to give a message to all the aspirants. Okay. So, now many
Okay.
people really don't know the program that you are currently pursuing, like you have pursued
Right.
in the past, the Penn State
Right. Right.
exchange
Mhm,
programs, somewhat like that.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
what is one of the message that you would personally like to share for the
mhm,
students?
mhm. Students, right. So, okay, so there were a lot of things that I wasn't aware of when I got into Penn State, right?
Mm.
When I went there. And one of the most important thing is finding jobs. Okay.
Mm.
And finding job in order, and if your goal is to find a job, uh, see, getting good grades at Penn State is very easy. It's
Hmm.
genuinely very easy because I barely studied and I had a very good GPA. Okay, so that's like, keep that thing like, like the second important thing in your life, maybe. Okay,
Hmm.
when you are doing your bachelor's, especially from, let's say, Penn State, right? So getting a good GPA is not the problem. Now, if you want to focus on getting job, the best thing you can do is network.
Hmm.
Network. And networking is the only thing that works out because networking helped me land a lot of interviews.
Hmm.
Although I failed a bunch of them, but after failing, you eventually learn how to get better at them, right? But
Exactly.
networking is the most important. Network everywhere. Attend every university event where, like, different companies come in and they tell you about a lot of different things and all those kind of things. Attend career fairs, go talk to people during the career fair, get their uh, business cards, everything that you can, everything that, try to connect. Be like very aggressive about it. That's
Hmm.
fine. They love people like that because
Hmm.
the recruiters that come during the career fair, they really want to know you. They really want to hire you. And if they see that you are going out of the way, that's going to help you a lot. And once you and make sure that first time you meet them, leave good impression, because now once you meet them, your next important job is to um go home
Hmm.
after the career fair, take out the list of people that you got business cards from, where you talk to, mail them, send them message on LinkedIn. Do both the things at the same time. Whatever details you have, do all those things, and they will remember you because you went out of the way to talk to them during the career fair. You stood out in some way or the other. Try to stand out
Correct.
during this thing. Like literally, one of my friend, he got for interview for internship because one of the person standing for Bank of America was Indian, okay,
Hmm.
and he went and talked to them, and he asked for their name, and he said, sorry, I don't remember his name. I think it was Deshpande or something. And he's
Hmm.
like, "तुम्हें Marathi आता है?" And he's like, "हाँ, Marathi." And he literally spoke in Marathi, and he was the only person in my juniors batch who got interview for internship, right?
Hmm.
Because that person remembered him. So try to
Exactly.
stand up. And that's one aspect for jobs. The next big aspect for a job is try to make your resume as rich as possible.
Hmm.
Attend clubs, join sport teams. I joined the sport. I play football like soccer, but not that good. But I still joined the soccer team for Penn State, and that gets it comes on your transcript, and at the same time it's a good GPA booster because your GPA increases by point 0.5. So
Hmm.
that's one good aspect of it. And at the same time, when you put it on the resume, people recruiters actually see, oh, you were part of the varsity soccer team, or you were part of this club, president of this club. So all these things help a lot when finding a job. So those are
Hmm.
the something that I would recommend them, and something that I would want them to prepare
Hmm.
when they mentally prepare themselves with all these things, all these cultural things related to job when they go to US. And I think that's applicable for masters too.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Quite great.
Yeah.
Intriguing podcast, I would say. Because your story, I felt inspirational the way, because
Mhm.
see, you felt that the Indian education was not appropriate for you. It is finally up
Mhm.
to the personal preference. We can
Right.
talk about that. So you felt, and you actually went way ahead of your league to pursue something.
Mhm.
You wanted a
Mhm.
change, and you made that change
Right.
happen. So that
Yep.
itself indicates the enthusiasm it takes and the intrinsic
Mhm.
motivation. So that
Yep.
is the reason I found this podcast very, different,
Yep.
because I haven't
Mhm.
seen anyone who has, done few years of study in India and
Mhm.
few years over overseas.
Mhm.
So
Right. Right.
that was really a great podcast
Mhm.
for sure.
Yep. 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 No problem. Man. Yeah. But again, another one thing that I would recommend if people really want to learn, and
Mm,
US is very expensive because US is expensive, right?
Definitely.
And I would recommend them go to Europe for bachelor's because it's
Mm.
almost free. Like the education is free. The only thing you have to spend on is cost of living, which is not that expensive as compared to US. And if they
Mm.
really want to learn, then Europe is an amazing option to go to for learning, especially if they're tired of Indian education system. That is, if they want to get away from it.
Mm. That is true.
But yeah, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely, thank you for sparing your time today.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. I genuinely enjoy, like, I really want to be a creator and I really want to do something what you are doing. So
Mm.
amazing work. And I really loved I watched your recent video. What was it about? The addiction, right?
Mm.
Yeah, about the addiction. Like you had very interesting perspective about addictions. And I agreed with most of it. I do disagree on some part of it, but you had a really good and you're absolutely right about addiction. And addiction can be of anything, right? And there
Exactly.
is substance abuse. There's obviously substance abuse that exists and that
Mm.
does like affect your everything around you. But there are
Mm.
some things that you don't even realize uh, that you're addicted, like sugar. Like I've been telling my parents that guys, you are addicted to sugar, and it is
Exactly.
more addictive than cocaine. Yeah, I do
Mm.
believe that. So again, nice way to spread information and amazing. I really hope like your YouTube career booms eventually.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
No, I
even I will
actually
start my channel.
decided to make all
Mhm.
kinds of this stuff, so not just
Mhm.
monologues, podcasts with
Right,
professionals, so
right,
that
right.
I can bring
Mhm.
something or the other information that is out there. Because many people now
Mhm.
today, after talking with you,
Mhm.
I came to know that there is a course that you can do, the course you have done. So
Oh
like
yeah,
two
yeah, definitely.
years India, 2 years
Mhm.
over,
Yeah,
2 years overseas,
right, right.
such courses. So there is information always out there. You just have to meet with the people and talk, and then you are going to come
Yeah,
across. So it definitely
definitely.
makes sense. So that is the reason I started this. And a special thanks to,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would say,
man.
Dikshit
Yeah,
for
man. Dikshit,
establishing our contact.
yeah. Dikshit, like right before, like even I saw Dikshit's podcast, right?
Hmm.
So he actually was like, so this is how conversation started, right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
I was giving, I was telling, see, I'm always like, the guy who talks a lot, and people get irritated by me because I will talk about irrelevant subjects and
Hmm.
subjects that they won't even know about. So I was talking about Joe Rogan to him, and I'm like,
Hmm.
so I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he was like, "Ah, yeah, I know Joe." I'm like, I was surprised. Wait, hold on. How do you know Joe Rogan?
Hmm.
And he's like, "Arey, bro, I have a friend, Ronak. He told me about it, and he's doing his podcast and something like that." And like, oh damn, like that is the weirdest. Like, I didn't expect him to know about Joe Rogan because I know him pretty
Hmm.
well, right? And so that's how he told me, yeah. He does. Ronak guy does his podcast, and
Hmm.
he has asked me to come on his podcast and everything. And then he's like, "Would you like to do it?" So amazing way to meet. Like maybe he wouldn't have told me about it if I didn't bring up Joe Rogan with him. But yeah.
Yes.
So you watch
Yeah,
Joe Rogan?
definitely. Yes, yes, definitely.
Amazing. Mm,
Hmm.
nice. Yeah, he's a very controversial guy, but amazing guy.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, so I'll link your profile in the description box. So your LinkedIn profile. So if anyone
Yeah.
wants to check the profile, they can.
Yeah, yeah,
And
sure.
yeah, thank you once again. And
Yeah,
this
no
is for
problem, man.
the today's podcast. So thank you for listening.
Yep, yep.
Goodbye.
Yep. Bye guys.